you would at this time remain standing and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Item number 6, special recognitions.
Thank you, Board. As you know, we have our Stripes Awards each month.
Our students for showing stripes. So this award is presented to Sanaya Walker in recognition of consistent positive behavior and dedication to academic success. Sanaya. Our next student. Okay. Now I know this. I just want to see how you would say it. Okay. Alani Cut-Calvin. Alani? Okay, well, we're recognizing her tonight for in recognition of consistent positive behavior and dedication to academic success. Harley Peterson, in recognition of consistent positive behavior and dedication to academic success. They're at home studying for their big test. This award is presented to Kylie Glover in recognition of consistent positive behavior and dedication to academic success. Not in person. Congratulations. All right, next we have Princeton Marks in recognition of consistent positive behavior and dedication to academic success. Charlissa Livingston in recognition of consistent positive behavior and dedication to academic success. Aubrey Smith in recognition of consistent positive behavior and dedication to academic success. Malia Brody in recognition of consistent positive behavior and dedication to academic success. If the proud parents of these students are here, if you would stand so we can just recognize you, give you a big hand. All right, we'll take a quick photo. And the 5x7s will be available. So we do want to recognize a staff member from Broadmoor, LaVonda Carter, testing coordinator, for ensuring our testing environment is always organized, orderly, and prepared properly. So community members from Broadmoor for showing their stripes. Let's see. This is upside down. Tiffany Currington, Super One Foods, for your community partnership for always supporting and contributing to Broadmoor Elementary School. UAPB Prep Band and entertainment with UAPB Spirit Squad.
We really want to take the opportunity to thank Broadmoor, their faculty, staff, and students, especially the students. That's what we live for. And our parents as well as our community partners. Thank you all for all you do in our schools. Item number 7, our Personnel Policy Committee.
Good evening to Dr. Barbary, Mr. Robertson, and our Board of Directors. I am Kathy Wells, the Chair of the Classified Personnel Policy, and I just have a very brief report. I do notice one of our members, Officer Yolanda Scott, who is here with us tonight, and we always appreciate when some of our committee members are able to be here with the board meeting. I did get a chance to attend the certified committee meeting just to observe Mr. Smith and how they are able to structure their meetings, some of the things they discussed, and that should help our classified personnel be able to move forward. We had our last meeting on April 9th, and it was brought to our attention that there was a concern from some of our classified personnel related to vacation days, and there was concern that they would lose them. And this is policy number 3.83 under the classified personnel policies for those personnel with 240-day contracts or more. We, as a committee, did review the policy. We did compare it to some other policies. We made some proposed changes, and we were able to present this to Dr. Barbary, Mr. Gregg, and Ms. Reed. After some discussion, we found out that one of the things that needed to be understood was that if the personnel were able to use their vacation days and then use leave days, which they also accumulate later on, that this may help them with the concern of not losing vacation days. So at this time, we did not have any proposed changes to present for the board, but we did want to let you know that we did study it. So if it does come up in the future, we will re-look at this and bring it back for further review. And I thank you for your time. Mr. Smith?
Good evening. This past week, I believe it was, myself, as long as some of our executive team from the certified, we met with Dr. Barbary and Mr. Carlock this week, and we shared some things that we were wanting to see, as well as we're working on, and a great deal of that had to do with administrative pay as well. And so we had proposed some administrative salary changes, and we had discussion around that, and the fiscal impact was a bit, and so we did propose a recalculation of the administrative pay when it comes to their daily rate tied to their contract days as well, and we worked out a formula for that. And I think we left that conversation with the need to see what the fiscal impact would be for that from a district standpoint. So I look forward to have those conversations with Dr. Barbary in the near future. We also already have on our salary scale, well, on our additional duty pay, a stipend for a lead teacher. And of course, those things can be attributed through the state. There's credentials and things like that that teachers are able to get through that program, but also that a duty specified. That duty pay is set at $3,000. That, not duty pay, that stipend is $3,000. We are proposing a master teacher incentive as well for $5,000. We did talk about that as well. And we are proposing additional incentives for administrative teams, our principals and APs, for building growth when it comes to their Atlas scores. We also talked about a dollar amount attached to that, as well as when buildings are moving grade letters, F to D, D to C, etc. That our administrators should be compensated. Right now, we know that the LEARNS Act does have those incentives, that merit pay, but it's tied to the teachers. Well, what about the building principals, right? And so we want to be able to build that into our stipend schedule so that can be a part of what our administrators can receive. And then we are also, excuse me, working on our own merit pay system within the district to go toward all of our employees. And so we have to define what that will look like, but our goal, and Dr. Barbaree's goal as well, was she didn't think that it needed to just be limited to teachers, and we agreed with that. So we want to see what that will look like in awarding everyone in our district that is responsible, that touch kids, right, that their lives, that have that work with kids, that we can, as a district, say as a sign of faith, we want to make sure that if you are secretary, para, what have you, that you are able to receive some type of incentive, and we just have to work out what those parameters and terms will be. And so the content of our last meeting was centered around those things. I don't think I'm missing anything, Doc. I think that's it. And so, yeah, that's what we talked about. Are there any questions for me? And I know I got to bring in Nurse Wells in on that conversation as well, that bottom piece. So, all right. Anybody? All right. Appreciate you.
Item number 8, board committee reports. I'm going to begin the board committee reports with a response to a correspondence that the board received, and I'll just read to you what my response will be on that. The Pine Bluff School District Board of Directors received a request on April 25th, 2026 at 11 a.m. requesting our immediate review of the classified salary schedule in comparison to the classified employee contracts prior to the approval of any such contracts for the 26-27 school year. According to that request, number 1, it appeared to be approximately 4 to 6 jobs reflected in contracts that are not listed on the board-approved classified salary schedule. Number 2, it appears that approximately 10 to 17 employees appear to be receiving compensation that exceeds the salary schedule step corresponding to their documented years of service. And number 3, approximately 11 employees are receiving salaries that do not correspond to any identifiable step within the adopted salary schedule. In response to this request, the Board of Directors is directing Superintendent Barbaree to conduct an internal audit or review of the classified salaries against the current Pine Bluff School District classified salary schedule and report those findings, specifically identifying the job titles that the job titles not listed on the board approved classified salary schedule, any employees receiving compensation that exceeds the salary schedule step corresponding to their documented years of service, and the employees receiving salaries that do not correspond to any identifiable step within the adopted salary schedule. And if she can do this for us by April 30th, and at that time, the board will respond again accordingly to those findings. So that is just in response to a correspondence that we received on April 25th, 2026. Are there any other board committee reports at this time?
Good evening.
only report I have is on April the 7th. I was able to attend the grand opening of James Matthews Elementary School Cardinals Lounge. For those who are not familiar with the Cardinals Lounge, it's a space for our students to build confidence and be comfortable and enjoy being children. Now, when I initially was invited to go, I wasn't quite sure exactly what it was all going to entail, but I must say that I was quite pleased when I went in and saw everything that was put together, to the point that I had to write it down so I didn't forget anything. But there was a basketball section for those who want to play basketball. There were arcade games for anybody that know anything about, the games from the 90s, like Mortal Kombat, Miss Pac-Man. That was the spin-off of Pac-Man that was there. There were life-size board games, bowling, and PS5. And then on top of that, there was a barber station and nail salon area for those who, wanted to partake into that. So I was very impressed when I went in. I already knew that it would be something nice, but I just wasn't expecting it to be that nice. But I was very pleased. It was a sight to see, and I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to experience that moment with those children. And if at this time I see somebody in the audience, I'm not trying to call you on the spot, but is there anything that Ms. Wright would like to say to kind of piggyback off of what I said, to kind of give a little bit more insight into what the Cardinal Lounge is for and how do the children go about being able to experience that? Is that all right? Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Are there any others?
Well, good evening. I guess we'll get an update from Sean on the new high school progress, and we'll go from there from the facilities committee.
salute drop-off by the cafeteria. There's our drone pilot on the right. He does have on a full face mask. He does a little lot there. This is kind of coming in down the main entry. To the right, the wood you just saw would be the history wall. Looking into the the library here, almost all the finishes are in. We are using it for a little bit of a staging area for ceiling tile and doors and things like that. But you can see it's really starting to come together inside the library area. Almost all of our interior glass is in. Starting to finalize all the painting, getting ready. Floors are being laid in most of those areas now. Finalizing some of the paint. This is the upstairs, kind of right above the admin area. Will be another one of those student areas they can gather in. Like we talked about, there'll be furniture here eventually. Here you can see kind of we're continuing to work on the outside, getting curb and gutter in, getting set up to do paving this month on that parking area right there. Hospitality suite you can see coming into view here. It's now a little more defined. Got a roof on it. We're about to get that last piece of the building closed up. You can see the suite will open up into the arena and the football stadium. Cafeteria. We've got lighting going up. Some of the specialty lights will be in there. The floating cloud ceiling systems you can see kind of taking shape. We're finalizing the last little bits there, getting ready to do the epoxy in the kitchen and the appliances, all the kitchen equipment will be going in May. So a lot of things are kind of starting to tighten up and finish up. This is in the arena itself. The arena will be one of our last spaces finished, but you can see the upper wall systems are in place. We're starting to get the basketball goals hung. That's the big metal poles you see coming down. More of the bleacher sections are kind of getting defined. Handrails are going in. You'll notice a scoreboard coming into view. We've got one of the first scoreboards hung at this point. The black box you see above that's actually some of the soundproofing that'll go up that'll help with the acoustics in there. This is inside the auditorium. Again, the arena and auditorium are kind of our last two finishes, but you can see that most of the walls are up and primed. We're starting to do painting in some of the upper areas and getting the last of the sheetrock hung kind of backstage. You can see a lot of that's all taking shape, and we're getting get all those walls closed up. Kind of finish up the last of the sheetrock we have to hang in any of the building itself. Exterior wise, we're continuing to work, getting in sidewalks, curb and gutter. We've got the rest of the metal up. Here's a look inside your safe room. That's the practice gym area. We've still got the final striping to do, but as you can see, it's coming along. That floor just got finished with the initial coats. We'll come in and line everything here in the next few days. That'll have a divider in it, so basketball or volleyball can go both directions in the gym. Here you'll notice a lot more of that acoustics going up as the gym's continuing to get a lot more finishes in it. We do have the not only the end scoreboards up, as you can see on the very ends, but also coming into view right here is the main video board in the center. That'll be exciting. First time we get to fire that up. Give you a good look there. This is some of our normal classrooms, so you'll see tack boards are starting to go up, final doors are being hung, we're getting millwork in, so we're getting ready to kind of get everything ready to turn over. This is actually in building G, a little more of that building itself. You can see pretty much all the finishes are done. Doors are in. This is going into the cosmetology lab. You can see millwork up to the side. These countertops are in here. We just got them covered up and kind of finishing up some of the framing on this last plumbing wall. That's where the actual sinks will set for actually the hair washing and that kind of thing. So that's kind of the last thing that'll finish this room up, and we'll get that going. Here you can really see a little better outline of how that courtyard's going to be with all of the round and the seating areas kind of down through there. So each one of those steps will kind of be like an amphitheater style seating. What unfortunately we didn't get into this video was any updates on the stadium, but just to give a quick update on that, we've been consistently power washing and cleaning a lot of the stadium areas itself. That's continuing ongoing. The structural repairs of the actual concrete structure, we had some areas where we had some rust and a little bit of rot that we're taking care of. That's all going on schedule.
and it has been to the extent that we anticipated we would find. No surprises there. They've started the borings under the field for all the electrical going back and forth, and energy's been out and got some of our new meters set, some of the old poles out of our way. So we're going to be continuing to take down poles, get ready to set the new. I would anticipate that we will look to pull the turf actually up in about June area, is get ready to set the new turf. So the stadium is moving along on schedule. We've got the east press box has now been re-roofed, is in the dry, and we're working interior of it. The west press box, we've done a little work on the roofing over there. We're working inside the west press box, and we're getting ready to start reworking the northwest concession area. That building will get reskinned and a new roof on it and a little bit of interior upgrade to get it back to the shape it needs to be. So got a lot of moving parts in a lot of areas. We've got 150 to 175 guys on site most days, and a lot of momentum going forward, and we are excited to be where we are. So, Board, any questions on anything? Yes, ma'am. There's multiple exterior signs depending on what side of the building you're on. Yes, ma'am. Maybe one of these we can do a signage presentation and kind of show some of the exterior signage. Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. That is my report.
Are there any other board committee reports? Okay. Item 9, adoption of the minutes from regular board meeting March 16, 2026. If everyone has had an opportunity to review it, I will obtain a motion that we accept those board minutes. It's been moved and properly second that we accept the board minutes from the regular board meeting March 16th, 2026. Are we ready for the question? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion is carried. Item 10, financial report.
All right, Board. As always, if you see in your packet, item 10 is the monthly financial report with the links in, and I'll go through each link. The first link is the local revenue from collection by month. And as you see, again, we report on the previous month. And so this will show the revenue that was collected, local tax revenue that was collected from March in the 3 ways we collect those. So total for March was $320,000, $565. We have actually collected $21.4 million in our local taxes. We're expected to get about 6.5 left in. So we're still trending on target. At this time, I'm going to address something that I have spoken with each of you about, but in regard to the December tax dollars, I will say that every year in December, it is a year-end tax dollar amount because at that point, taxes are delinquent. They collect taxes in October is when everyone's taxes are in. And so the process that we have in place at the district is, and then we did this, I think, last year. So Miss Goodwin, the assessor, her admin assistant will call and talk to our admin assistant at the time. It's Miss Shelton, would call and say, the tax check is here. You can come pick up the tax check. And so usually Miss Shelton will go and pick up the tax check and bring it back. In December, we received we did not receive a call to come pick up a tax check, but we knew that we would get a shore up tax check at the end of that month. So they cut the check December 31st is that last check that they cut. And so in January, we did receive December's taxes and we received January's taxes. Those were reported to you in the February's board packet where you saw that we got December and January. But then in April, at the very beginning of April, we received a call from the assessor's office stating that they saw where 2 checks to Pine Bluff School District had not cleared. because they had not cleared, we began to look for those to see, because we knew, and she said they were from December, so we knew we had deposited December checks, and so we were looking for the amount of December. Well, we connected back to the assessor's office, and the assessor stated that no, there were 2 checks cut on December 18th that at a certain amount, and they had not cleared the bank on their end when they were doing that. So we then looked at our records, and we had not deposited anything into our account of that amount of money or a check from December 18th. And so because of that, we communicated with the assessor's office, and they voided those checks that were cut in December and reissued us checks that day or within the next day of that week. And Ms. Shelton went and picked up those checks. And so I made a point to go meet with the assessor about this situation once we found out this had happened. And so I went to the county office to meet with the assessor and speak with them about the process. And so immediately, the admin assistant there had created like a sign in and out sheet. So now anytime someone comes to pick up the checks, they sign that they've been there to pick up the check, and then we bring that back so that we would have a record of those being picked up. And she also stated that on December 18th, they put those checks, 4 checks from the assessor's office in the mail, 2 of them being Pine Bluff School District checks and 2 of them belonging to someone else. Those 2, she didn't identify who they were, but all 4 of those checks had not cleared the assessor's account. So since all 4 of them hadn't, they ended up voiding all 4 of those, but they did issue our 2 back to us. So there was never a missing set of money. It was just the money that they hadn't shored up just yet, and when they were looking at their books. And so I did go by the assessor's office to find out exactly how that happened. But if you will see in the tax dollars collected, all December's has been reconciled now and is listed there as to when they came. The next link are any questions about that before we move to the next link? Thank you for the record. The treasurer, forgive me. I did not see Mr. Washington that day. I saw Ms. Goodwin. The next link is the board report for periods 1 through 9. If you see under operating funds, what you'll see is so far we've collected in the 2001 account $28 million. That includes tax revenue dollars and like our state foundation funding as well. If you notice at the top, under teacher salary fund, we transfer money to the teacher salary fund to keep that balance a clear balance. But so far under teacher salary fund, we've spent $11 million paying our teachers. So we're over halfway with that. So that's a good trend. The next board report that you have is just for period 9, which is the month of March. So you can see, this is for you to compare what was expended in March compared to how it's been all year. So what you see in revenue and what you see expended in March. And then the next link you have is your bank reconciliation. If you notice, we're still working to reconcile. There's still some outstanding checks. We continue to look at that. Right now, the longest check has been in June, so we're trying to make sure that we find out why that has not cleared. So that's something that Mr. Shaw takes care of. The rest of them are pretty on target. Then you'll see that the bank was reconciled. Bank statement was reconciled. The next link is your board check register, and this is the Cognos report, and it gives you a good example of the fund that the check came out of. It's the one that has kind of like the blue heading at the top. And so where it says fund charge, that tells you if we're paying for it out of operating, activity, cafeteria, federal. Those are different ways like that, but you're looking at those checks that were cut for the month. Any questions about those? The next link that you're going to see is the building fund, and it's only for 3001, which is the bond issue. Again, at the beginning of this fiscal year, we had $36.9 million in the bond issue. The revenue that you see reflected there is the interest that's being made off that. And of course, we've expended 28 million, so we still have 9.4 million left of our bond issue money. Remember, in building fund, we still have 12 million that we would receive as well in our, a little over 12 million as part of partnership funding to finish that out. The next document you see right before it's called the bond proceeds register, and that's where you see it from this fiscal year of every debit and credit that we've had within this. So in July, we started with 36.9 million. The interest made was 134,000. What we expended, you'll see we expended to East Harding and Lewis Architects, and how that goes each time. So at the very end, that fund ending balance should match what's in the bond proceeds, and it's 9.401, which is exactly what you see on the other document. It also shows, though, over the last 3 fiscal years so far, we've earned 3.7 million in interest. And the last document is total project costs from when we began September 2023 until now, and we're right at $60,332,959 towards our project. So we're finishing it out. Any questions about the financials? Sure. Okay.
Are there any other, excuse me, any other questions? There are none. I want to obtain a motion that we receive our financial report is read. It has been moved and properly second that we accept our financial report as it has been read. Are we ready for the question? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? None. The motion is carried. Item 11, Superintendent's Report.
Thank you, Board. All right, so we'll start like we do always and talk about the vision of Pine Bluff School District is that we are a student-centered community, and everything we do is focused on how can we continue to make our district a community for our students. We'll be safe, supportive, where every child is believed in, challenged, and empowered to overcome barriers, achieve at high levels, and pursue the college and career goals that they set for themselves. Every decision that we make in the district is based on students, but we capture this in our 6 systems, and I will provide that report to you tonight based within those 6 systems. Our first system that I'd like to discuss is academics, and Ms. Rawls, our Director of Curriculum Instruction, is here to provide a report on our some Atlas updates as well as part of our academic presentation.
Sharing this Atlas journey we're on currently. So right now the data I'm sharing is preliminary data. We have not had tested all of our students, and even with the students that we have tested, the data is not reporting for some of those students. We're waiting on information from the State Department. So the first item I'll share with you. Well, before I share it, I want to say that you will not see kindergarten data here. We did start kindergarten testing on May 13th, but we currently hadn't reached over 50% of the students tested. So I feel uncomfortable reporting a trend with so much data still being out there for kindergarten.
Ms. Rawls, do you want Mr. Sims to click on, which one do you want him to click on?
I want him to click on the completion report.
Okay.
That's because that's where I'm going to start with. So with the completion report for administration on 25-26 data right now.
Hang on just a second. He's going to need to make it much bigger. There you go. Thank you.
Okay, can you scroll down some to the chart? Okay, a little bit more. it should show third grade, fourth grade, and 10th grade. Those are the three grade levels that we have currently tested more than 95% of the students. And now we are currently testing this week 5th, 6th, 8th, and 9th grade. And as you can see, in third grade, we have tested over 96% of the students, and in all of the content areas. Fourth grade, we have tested over 95%, and in 10th grade, we have tested. If you slide over some, you'll see that we tested over 95% there as well. The reason why that data is showing 88% is because it includes the juvenile center, and we haven't tested the juvenile center yet, but they are included in our numbers as far as students being tested, and they will test next week. So that 86% represents juvenile. So right now, we're trending toward reaching the goal of 98% of our students being tested, even though the state goal is 95%. We set a goal for ourselves at 98%. We still have to test. Next week we'll test 7th grade. We will test the remainder of K1, and then we have a building that will be testing 2nd grade the week of May 11th. But I just want to shout out the building test coordinators, the district test coordinator, and all the staff, because they have done an amazing job thus far with administration of the test. The next thing we'll have is a report on the current third grade. Can you go to the third grade report? So right now in third grade, we are so encouraged by this data that we have this upward movement in our data. As you can see, we are moving. We have a trend of moving upward in the amount of students that are showing or approaching the level 2, a decrease in the number of students that are in level 1, and we are increasing in our students that are growing in proficiency levels 3 and 4. And this is across all content areas, including ELA, which is reading and writing. And I'm so excited about our writing data. The current third graders right now are trending toward writing data that's been higher. That's the highest in the last 3 years that we've taken the assessment. So third grade right now, we're showing improvement in foundational skills, which we focus on a lot, and we're moving toward mastery. Also with the third grade data, if you scroll down some more, I'm not for sure if the board is aware that the students will have the opportunity to reassess, and that window starts right after we receive all the data. And so we will have a 5-week intensive support for those students who do not reach the level 1, so that they can have the opportunity to reassess on the reading assessment, to be able to be, because the LearnS Act and the new promotion requirements, they will be able to take that assessment again after the 5-week intensive support. That support plan will be based on those student needs once we receive the data, and they will be in the buildings, and our main focus is to have small group instruction with those students, with the group sizes not being no larger than 5 students with those teachers during that intervention block. And so that is our third grade data.
Ms. Ross, may I interrupt for just a moment, just for clarity for the board? So if you remember the law that says if our students in third grade score in a level 1, then the law says that they would be retained. However, there's a group there's lists that could be what we call a good cause exemption. And so there's opportunities even for those students that scored in a level 1, if they had a good cause exemption, to go ahead and move forward to 4th grade. And so there's 2 things here about reporting our number of students. One, even though we show that over 95% of our students have tested, we know they have tested, but we have not received over 95% of our students' scores back. Does that make sense? We don't have everyone's scores back, but we do. So the way that they do this grading of the Atlas assessment is AI, artificial intelligence, grades the test. However, the state pulls back 10% of that to do a human grading of the test, to do a comparison to make sure that AI and human grading are on the same trend. So there are some students that we've received their data back. We've actually received more than not, but that 10% we haven't gotten back yet of all of our third graders. Once we get every third grader's assessment results back, then we begin looking at who qualifies for a good cause exemption based on the data that way. But every student, based on a commissioner's memo that was released, every student that scored in a level 1 will have an opportunity to retake the test to try to score better than the 1. If they score better than the 1, then that also allows them to be promoted. However, by the retake of the test, that does not support any changes or adjustment in our school accountability grade. So we would keep the accountability grade that we had based on the first assessment, but we would be able to promote certain students if they retested. But in order for us to retest them, we have to provide intensive support, additional intensive support beyond what we've already done for at least 5 weeks, and then we can retest them. And so that's something that's why we wanted to test third grade first as well, because we knew it would take a minute to get all those scores back, and we knew that we needed 5 weeks to provide that opportunity for them to get that intensive support. I think I covered that. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Ms. Ross, for letting.
Next, we have our 4th grade and our upper grades. So 4th grade, same information as 3rd grade. You know, I'm just excited because as I looked at this data over the last few weeks, we have just been trending upward in students performing in a higher levels than ones. We have levels 2 and 3 increase, especially in math. And we have a lot more of our math data back than we have for our ELA. So for math in 4th grade, we have the same results. Students are moving more toward the higher levels. We have a decrease in level 1, increase in the level 2s, and we're showing early growth for proficiency in math, ELA, and science for 4th grade. And 10th grade biology at the high school, that has shown the most significant improvement. We have decreased our level 1s by more than 10%. The level 2s have increased, and we're going to show an increase in our level 3s and 4 for biology. But ELA, we show an upward trend in decreasing our level 2s and 3s and a decrease in our level 1s. So overall, so far, I can say in Palmer School District, we are trending toward growth and increase in our proficiency students. I do want to shout out, we do have one building in Palmer School District who has less than 7 kids that right now that did not pass, that has a level 1 in 3rd grade. So we're showing some significant growth. Any questions? Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
In this data and overall percentages, is homeschoolers in this?
We have our virtual. We have only the students
virtual,
that are attached to Palmer School
Okay.
District. Yes.
Okay.
I just wanted, I don't know exactly how to ask the question, but I don't know if I want to make a appointment, maybe to come and see, like, with all respect, it seemed like a very nice, I guess, like a PowerPoint, but I kind of just want to, like, with the growth, be able to see, like, without names, this many has grown, you know? I so
want to share that with you. I'm so excited.
Can you?
But I just want to wait until we get the actual numbers back, because
Okay.
you know, anything I give you now would be, it could change,
Right.
you know, because we don't have all the numbers back. But I mean, the percentages are trending toward us showing growth. And so just until we can get all that data back and it be actual data, and we don't have to worry about so much significant changes with the students the number of students not being reported, we just wanted to wait. But just to give you encouragement that the data looks good at this point, and so you know, everybody can just we're trending toward a positive direction.
So when can we expect the?
Well, the state said that, like Dr. Barbie said about the AI, that it could take 5 to 7 days more for each of those assessments. So that means that 7th grade doesn't test until May 4th, which means they'll test their reading and language those 2 days, and until you get those two together, you can't get an ELA grade. So by the next board meeting, we should have some percentage data to be able to report.
Okay, I look forward to it.
Okay.
I had one question. On the grading, is the AI doing, are you saying the AI is doing 90% and the individuals doing, and humans are doing what, 10%?
Yes.
That's just in that's just in ELA. I mean, in math and science, AI's doing.
AI is doing all of that.
It's just in the ELA is a person involved, so everything else is,
AI.
okay.
Any more questions? Mr. Whitmore, I can't wait to give you that data.
Thank you, Ms. Rawls. Also, under Superintendent's report, we have an update provided tonight under our human capital by Ms. Monica McMurray. Mr. Sims, will you click on her presentation? Thank you.
Good evening to the board and to everyone here tonight. I'm gonna take some time. I only have 5 slides, but these 5 slides are going to basically explain in a granular sense the executive functions of human capital. And so the 6 systems that Dr. Barberie often introduces all meetings, she talks about that because it's very important, and largely because this is not just germane to the Pine Bluff School District. It's germane to all schools across the state of Arkansas, because this is what research says that best progressive organizations do well and how they are monitored. And you can even extend that those same components nationally to other schools as well. So in looking at human capital, basically when you think about human capital, you kind of think about a collective cadre of professionals that are working uniquely in their own capacity to move an organization forward. So what does that look like for Pine Bluff School District? Next slide. So there are 2 areas in the Pine Bluff School District that our office function in: talent acquisition and human resources. And so it's very important that you understand what that looks like on both sides coming out of one area. So under talent acquisition, I'm just going to go through these and basically give you a little bit of an explanation of what that specifically looks like in an actionable sense. So in the talent acquisition phase of this work, recruiting highly qualified staff, what does that look like? So we're not only required to recruit teachers who are certified, teachers who've gone through an educational program for teachers. We also look at professionals who have degrees, who are going to be licensed non-traditionally. And so in doing that, my office vet all of those applicants to make sure that we are getting the most qualified applicant. And so in vetting, we have to look at what are the Pine Bluff School District's needs? What are the vacancies? Are they a best fit for the campus? And how do we get these the most qualified applicants to the interview phase so that principals and directors can do what they need to do to interview those staff, those potential employees. Now, also through the vetting process, this can happen externally or it can happen internally. Specifically, we have a lot of professionals, and this is classified and certified. Ms. McMurray, what is the difference? Classified are employees that are working in ancillary support areas that support students, such as it could be cafeteria staff, it could be custodians, it could be paraprofessionals, any type of ancillary support in that area. A lot of our employees actually come to us with bachelor degrees, with associate's degrees. We very seldom have paraprofessionals or in particular who will get a job in our district that are not bachelor degrees. So internally, when I look for teachers who will best fit our schools or best suit our schools, I'm going to look at those applicants as well. I'm going to see if they are qualified to teach in a capacity of secondary, or in elementary. And so if they are suited best for that position, then they too can get an opportunity to actually interview for a position. And of course, externally, we look outside. We go to all of our job fairs, and we'll talk a little bit about that in another screen. We support teacher licensure attainment. The State Department has now required that all non-licensed staff go through a particular process of having a teacher licensure plan. And so that's where, when I vet first, we hire, and if these are the most, we're saying to the State Department, these are the most suitable applicants for our school district. Now, we're gonna pass that name or those names off to the State Department. They're gonna schedule a meeting with that new teacher now. And when they schedule a meeting, they're going to approve the TLP, look at basically what I've looked at to see if I've done well, and they're gonna send it back to me. I'll sign off on it, and then it goes into the state system for that teacher to be approved in a licensure plan. Mentorships. Our mentorships basically happen in two ways. With the new law, teachers have to now have what's called a master or lead designation on their license in order to mentor student residents. So this is two things that we're talking about here. So for student residents, those are students that we have in an educational program that have completed all of their testing requirement, and they're now needing their year-long internship. Those are our student residents. So in order for us to hire those students as paraprofessionals or to hire those students as a aspiring teacher, they must be mentored. So what does that mean for us? We had to, 2 years ago, start to create an infrastructure to support that type of expectation in our district and to meet the state mandate. So what we did was, we had about 40 teachers that 5 were paid for by a grant, and then another 35 were paid for by additional funds that the district provided under title monies to basically train those teachers to make sure that our teachers can obtain the credential that it would take in order to mentor those teachers. And all of our teachers are basically on task. We are now doing our verification of employment experience, that final step, because they've completed the training, and now they're getting the endorsements on their license to say, hey, I'm a lead or designated professional to mentor teachers. Now, the other side to that is, the law says, in addition to being able to support those resident teachers, we have to also support those teachers who are not in a teacher program. That's our new teachers who are coming fresh out of the workforce, never been a teacher before, and they're in the schools. They need that same level of support. So then our teachers are basically in a position to do both, okay? So that's why we want all of our teachers to be trained in that area. From the human resources perspective, onboarding professionals in the district, all of the teachers, all of the classified staff coming into our district, we onboard them. That happens through the human resources side of things. We make sure that they have their paperwork complete, make sure they know the expectation. That is the first step of training that they're going to get when they come into the district. And so we make sure that not only do they have that, but we try to find avenues of where they would fit most relative to if they're going to be in certain levels of training, if they're K-6 or if they're K2 and they need a specific type of reading training, we have to make sure we're giving them that professional learning pathway to make sure that they are compliant. We ensure federal and state compliance. This is where we look at SFA reporting, and that acronym is nothing more than Standards for Accreditation. This is how the State Department can look at all school districts to see if we are compliant, if we are doing what it takes, or what they expect for us to make sure that our schools are meeting those areas. And there are specific areas. There's teacher licensure, there's finance, there's the reading laws, there's parental involvement, everything relative to those 6 systems that were mentioned. They're pulled by the State Department through the SFA reports, and that's how they effectively monitor it. Now, what does that broad process look like for my office? We have to make sure that all of those areas are working together so that when those reports come out, and whatever the report says that needs to be tweaked or needs to be updated or needs to be fixed, it's through that office where we make sure that we're pushing all information systems out to make sure that those things are happening. We support leadership teams regarding compliance, master scheduling, and staff ratios. A lot of times, people don't understand that through the Human Capital Office, Human Resources side, we are the first step to make sure that the district is financially solvent when it comes to human capital. Because we have to look at what are our needs, what are our student counts, and how can we make this work and balance the two. And so there are times, and we're having these conversations now, where your student count don't support your staff numbers. So when that happens, I look at it from a macro perspective. When we have to surplus staff, where can we place them other places that may be needed in another school campus? And so that's what we do. If in the event we have staff that we can't place, then that staff is surplus. Now, we don't just look at not placing the staff in the area that they currently work in. We look at their license to see what other areas can they teach. Can we put them somewhere else? Because look, these are taxpayers. We want to make sure that everybody is stabilized. And so that is first and foremost how we lead when it comes to making sure that our staff members are in balance, our district is in balance, and our staff members are taken care of. And so master scheduling, talking to principals about what that looks like on their campus, how we can move people around, that's a compliance mechanism. The State Department tells us how many students we can have per teacher, per grade band. And so we look at those things to make sure that we are in compliance. Performing support grievance on the initial level. Sometimes, there are grievances that may go forward, but if they can be taken care of or heard or perhaps settled at this level, this is what we want to do. And sometimes, I may have to, make a note or advise, our teams, hey, look, this is happening. We may want to look at this. What are we doing? What does the policy say? Are we in compliance? Are we congruent to what our policy says relative to the employee? So that's what that looks like on both sides of the spectrum. The next slide is our partnership. Well, it should be partnerships. Okay, the next slide is partnerships. These are all of the partners that we have that we work with in our district as it relates to teachers. This could be residents, this could be classified, this could be certified. More than the latter, this is the former. It is for our certified staff. So if you notice, all of our IHEs that we have listed here, every single IHE that is listed, okay, institution of higher education, we have someone in our district working reflective of this partnership. And I'm excited to say that because in 2021, when I wrote the plan for retention and recruitment, we were about 40% licensed, we were about 40% of non-licensed staff. And I'm pleased to present that we're well over 90 today. But in doing that, working with these colleges and establishing new partnerships, because one of the actionables that I included in there was that in 3 years we would expand our reach in looking for qualified staff. So this is why our list has become a little bit more robust than it has been in the past. And so when we look at the third to the last, our international expert resources, this is where we looked internationally for special ed teachers because we just couldn't find any at that time in the state of Arkansas. And so we have currently 4 Ghanaian teachers who work with us, and they're doing very well. In fact, one of them is one of the candidates for the Teacher of the Year this year. And so they've done really well. We're really excited about that. So Arkansas Department of Education, of course, they have programs. So when we talk about pathways, so I know you all hear this teacher's and is this teacher in a pathway. So what that simply means is the State Department requires 2 ways that a teacher can be licensed. Not necessarily 2 ways, I'm sorry. They have to do 2 things to become licensed. They have to have a pathway and complete it, and they have to pass their content-based exams. Pathways are the learning institution that they are attached to in order to train to be a teacher, if that makes sense. The content is them testing in that subject matter that they're teaching before the children, okay? They have to do both. So when you look at these, all of your universities, all of your IHEs, those universities are going to be 2-year programs, okay? Now, Arkansas Teacher Corps, ATC, they're going to be 3-year programs. when you look at your Arkansas River Service Corps, what they do to help us is they help to support the teaching, so the praxis element of it. So any teacher that needs help with their foundation of reading, with their praxis content exam, they are given access and support to those areas that they're needing to get that extra support in. And so for the Arkansas Department of Ed, they too have a pathway program. In fact, they have several in their programs alone that they offer are about two. That's the Apple program, and they also offer support in the alongside working with iTeach, and they also work in conjunction with the IAGs, making sure that they are providing the necessary support for our teachers when they're getting their licensure pathways completed. And then the final report that I have for you is the where we are currently, our vacancies. So if you look at it by school, this is where we are currently. Now, we're in a good place. When we look at it from a district-wide perspective, we are about 97% staffed. That's if all of the recommendations go forth tonight, and then some of these numbers that you see are what we would call floating vacancies. And what I mean by that is some of these vacancies can be filled by surplus staff, okay, reassignments, okay. And so again, when we continue to have these conversations and we know where these plugs are and we know who is displaced or surplus, we're going to place those teachers in these areas. We have some retirements on some campuses, but we also have residents that have met all of their requirements that we're waiting for them to graduate before we can present them before the board for approval. The State Department says that no unlicensed teacher without a bachelor's degree can be hired. So we want to be really careful about that, and that's another compliance mechanism. That's what we do to make sure that we're actually making sure all of our schools are compliant as we're looking at our human capital as well. So if you're looking at each of the campuses, no campus is above 3 teachers. But again, if you look at that final wording at the bottom, special ed, we still are making strides with special ed, but that's a challenge for us. It is a challenge because, you know, in our district, and I can date this back 4 years, we had a mass exodus of special ed teachers that just retired. They did their time and they just left. And of those, we asked some of those to come back, and they did. Now, some who have come back and did a few more years for us, they're now retiring again. So we have to kind of look at what can we do, you know, to sustain this population of teachers, and how can we get them here and make sure that we're actually retaining them. So this is where we are. We're in a good place. Another thing that we have to look at a little closer is when we are actually ending the school year, our plan for issuing our contracts, are we timely? Are we doing this in a way that's going to keep teachers from leaving, in addition to working against the retirement, you know, because we work against retirement all the time. So we have to make sure in some critical areas where we know it's going to hurt us the most, we got to be a little bit more responsive. And Dr. Barbary and the team, we've talked about this, and we, you know that this is something that we need to do better in this area. Lastly, and this ends the PowerPoint slide, but lastly, we also work with our 21st century programs. And 21st century programming, this is where our students have an opportunity to learn beyond the school day in a safe environment, but also echoing what's taught in the classroom. And so we had all of our 4 elementary schools in 21st century programming. Moving into next year, we'll have Southwood and Broadmoor that will roll over into next year, because we end one cycle with 2 schools, James Matthews and 34. So I will say this, our 21st century program is not an isolated effort. That program is responsible for helping with whatever the schools are doing. We are echoing what that instructional sentiment is. We are making sure that those teachers are bringing that same instruction and that same support to our students in 21st century. And I can say that all of the students that attend 21st Century have had some point movement. And Mr. Whitmore, I can bring you those numbers, definitely. And so those kids are kids that are in the schools. And these are students that definitely are contributing to the movement that you will see and the movement that you've seen in the past. Those students are now. In addressing the state's mandate for third graders, we're looking at what students can we place in the program intentionally to help those kids so that that can meet the expectation also for how we are actually putting a highly qualified teacher in front of them, giving them those RP plans the way they should have them, and working in a concerted effort with the schools. So we're really excited about that. And as I take my seat, before I ask you if you have any questions, I do want to give a shout out to Ms. Key. She's sitting here, I saw earlier, there she is. With 21st Century, she has been just very responsive, making sure the kids are fed, making sure the kids have hot meals. I think their meals in 21st Century look better than the ones in the regular school day, and so even when we go on our field trips, she's getting up on Saturdays, making sure that the kids have what they need. And, when people work and go over and beyond, you dare not acknowledge that because it means a lot. So I want to tell you thank you for that. Are there any questions for me?
Yes, ma'am. I'm glad you gave this report tonight, because what I'm trying to do is highlight the positive things that we're doing. We know the negative, we hear that all the time, but we're putting the best teachers in front of these students. Okay? So what that shows to me is you got the best teachers, you got the best programs, okay, you got the best students. Now we need the best parents.
Absolutely.
We need the best parents. Because all I hear is we're not doing, but this is to prove that we're doing our part. We need you to show up.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I appreciate you for just doing this for me, and to show and to get it on camera and to get it out there to the public that at Pine Bluff we're not playing, but we need some help.
Absolutely. Thank you. Are there any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McMurray. Next, under my superintendent report, we'll talk about student support. Tonight, I'll be quick. Tonight in your board packet, you will see the service agreement for next school year for Capturing Kids' Hearts. This is still the human capital training, but I put it under student support because we'd like to continue this program. As you know, this next year will be our third year of implementation of Capturing Kids' Hearts. The really great thing is the other districts in the area are also now taking part in this. So some of the trainings we're able to do at the Educational Cooperative because they're hosting it for all three districts to be able to come to. But there are still pieces of that that we want to continue to do that are specific to Pine Bluff School District and us being in year 3. We've seen really good growth and positive trends with our Capturing Kids' Hearts training and support, and so tonight I'm going to ask that we do a year 3 service agreement, and part of this agreement are 8 days of on-site support, one being a teacher retraining, kind of like a 3-hour retraining with all staff, and then there's 7 support days where they come on site where they're with building principals and doing walks and doing things like that to see implementation at the building level, and then there's 8 virtual support pieces with that. And then we also get what they call the premium cohort, which is all the resources, the teachers' lesson plans, the videos, and all that. That's part of it. So the service agreement for next school year would be, it's in your packet, but it is $72,850 for those days. We pay for this out of school improvement money. It's federal dollars. It doesn't come out of operating. And so that'll be as an action item later, but I'd like to continue our agreement with Capturing Kids' Hearts. And then the other idea that I wanted to share with you guys, because it is also an action item later, is our food service management renewal. And so we are in a food service management agreement currently with K-12 Elior. And if you've heard Ms. Monica McMurray refer to it, Ms. Key is the new director for K-12 Elior. I think, yes. I asked Ms. Key to be here because the one positive thing is Ms. Key has been with us the entire time that we've had different food service management company and this new company. And during my student advisory committee meetings and even staff advisory committee meetings, the students and staff both shared some concerns and complaints in regard to our food service and what the food was. And Miss Austin, our child nutrition director, has been very adamant about supporting what we need from the district. And so her and Mr. Gregg met with the company over and over. And if you don't know, you do now that we've had 3 directors since we've had K-12 Elior, because we are not going to accept mediocre. And I think they did themselves a disservice by not making Ms. Key the director the first time, but she is now our director. And so I just wanted to share, and she came tonight in case you had any questions, and just to talk about, and Ms. Fanny's here too, to talk about some things that they're going to do a little bit differently to make sure that we're getting student input on our food service and different things like that. And of course, the meal tonight has been prepared by our food service management company as well. She did it. Yes, Ms. Key did it. So even though the food service agreement is a 5-year agreement, however, every year the State Department requires us to do a 1-year renewal. So that's what this is. It's not changing. Actually, there will be some changes in the food service costs, but it's based on cost analysis that go up every time. So we will get reimbursed. We'll get a reimbursement that will cover the cost of the food service fixed price. And so that is later in the action item. But if you guys have any question for Ms. Key or Ms. Fanny, they're here. I asked them to be here in case y'all had any questions.
I got one. Can you hear me well? All right. Now, some time ago when I was at Southeast Junior High, we used to have a cook named Miss Cole. And I only went to school to eat lunch. Miss Coleman can cook. You one of the ones that can cook?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You can cook?
No.
All right, let's keep them babies healthy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, because they don't like nothing but nuggets and stuff anyway. So. But I'm glad to hear that we have the consistency of someone knowing what we need to get the nutrition to our children. Thank you. Wow. Wow. Okay, I'm gonna check it out tonight. I'm gonna call you. Huh? All right.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak? No. Next, thank you so much for being here tonight, though, and thank you, Ms. Fanny. Under stakeholder and community engagement, Adam Price, our student voice representative, was unable to be here tonight. He wanted to send his, I'm sorry, he had an issue that came up last minute, so he wasn't able to make it. As far as something else, I think it's very important that I recognize this piece. We have retired teachers that continue to support our schools, especially at the secondary level. So Miss Erling Collins and Miss Wilma Kendall, came to me at Christmas break and said, we are owning this letter F just like everyone else, and we want to see what we can do to help support that. And they asked how they could be a part of this. And so Ms. Collins and Ms. Kendall met with Ms. Rawls, our Executive Director of Curriculum Instruction, and discussed how they could be that support and what they could do. And so they provided a professional development for our math and science teachers looking at Atlas scores. I think maybe just all secondary teachers. They've met with Mr. Laurent and Ms. Harris. They focus more with secondary math and science because we know we're doing a lot of focus with ELA. So they've attended what we call CTMs, collaborative team meetings with the teachers, listening to how the data is, looking at data. They meet with me about monthly to just talk about what they've done in the buildings and what they're doing. Ms. Collins herself has been, I'm just going to share, she's provided math professional development. She met with the principals, Mr. Laurent and Ms. Harris. She's attended all the CTMs that she could with them, but she's also conducted classroom observations in the geometry class and our Algebra 1 class. Now, the geometry classes, the two geometry, Ms. Shorter and Mr. Perry welcomed her support and asked for her to come more often and provide more feedback so that she could support that. And then, of course, at the junior high, she's been with Ms. Hulsey and Ms. Tatum. in our algebra classes and providing some support for those teachers. And so I think it's notable that these ladies have taken their time to come and provide whatever they can do to help us with this, and by being in the classrooms and being with our students and being with our teachers to try to provide that support. And so I wanted to show that is a true stakeholder involvement. Instead of just coming to a meeting, they're actually coming and digging into the work and trying to support our teachers that way as well. So I think that's good. UAPB residency. So last week we were recognized by the University of the University of Pine Bluff, excuse me, University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, that we were a distinguished partner in recognition of our support and partnership with the resident program at UAPB. And so we were excited to say that we had 14 residents this year, one aspiring teacher, and all of those teachers have now, they were working as paraprofessionals, so they won't be paraprofessionals anymore. Some will hopefully be hired as teachers in the district, or they will find a job being a certified teacher somewhere else. And then of course, we've already hired 2 of those, and then we have some coming up. We're just looking to fill, like Ms. McMurray said, those spots where we have it. So we're looking to continue this partnership with UAPB for next school year, but we haven't got a good list of all those residents that would be available yet. And then under the last thing under stakeholder and community engagement, Mr. Carlock and I met with a lady from Goodwill. So Goodwill, would you click on that link, Mr. Sims, the Goodwill partnership link? And so this is a program that they have in Little Rock and I think Little Rock School District and other areas, but they'd like to bring it to Pine Bluff to where it's the basic thought behind it is, if we allow them to bring a Goodwill bin and place it in one of the building's parking lots, it takes up like a car parking space, and the donations would go into there. Just by putting the bin on one of our school sites, they would provide gift cards to the counselor to pass out and give, that students and parents could go to Goodwill and use that to purchase items there as part of free, and that could be part of our programs to hand out that way. The more items that are donated in these bins, the more gift cards would be received at those schools. And so this was something that I thought was a great opportunity through their programs for our students and families to be able to participate in. And it's also another way where we can give back to the kids without having to identify them as homeless and things like that as well. This is another way that we can monitor that. I told the lady that we met with that I wanted to bring it to the board to make sure that it's not an actionable item, but I want you guys to be aware of it before we just put Goodwill bins out. I want to make sure you have a chance to provide some feedback on if this is something you want to do as a district. They can bring as many bins as they want. However, we have 2 buildings, if you remember, Forest Park Greenville and James Matthews Elementary are both our community schools. They're a part of the community schools grant, and this would be another opportunity for those 2 buildings to participate in community schools as well, where we're really showing a focus on those. If we see that the bins fill up very quickly there and we think there's a need to put them in other places, we could. However, we wanted just to kind of start and see where that would go. So that would be 2 schools that we could participate just this first time around if y'all wanted to do something like that. But I thought it was a neat idea. Thanks. Under district operations and fiscal governance, it was asked, and I love this idea, by one of our new board members, if we could do maybe a board work session or like type board retreat. And I know that just to, first of all, like a team bonding and communications, that's something that we did when you guys first came on board, and then we did it again. We had our original one through Arkansas School Boards Association, and then we had Dr. Liang that also did some communications training with the board. And this is just because you guys don't really get an opportunity to meet and talk outside of the board meetings. And a work session would provide some more training on finances, some team building training, just some board trainings for just collaborative and getting things, and the board role versus superintendent's role. It gives us the time to work together. And so I'm wondering, when, and I need you guys to submit some dates of times that you guys could be available, so I can reach out to some presenters to see if they would be available to come in and provide some specific training. That would be like Ray Beardsley, our financial advisor. That's a good training that you guys can go through with him. And then, of course, Arkansas School Boards Association have different people that they could come and present, which would be, those would all count as hours too, school board hours. I think when I talked to Mr. Robertson and Ms. Ferris, some of the days it would be fine to do it during a school day, and we could do it here, or we could have it at the co-op. They could host us there, and we could bring in presenters there, or we could go to Little Rock where Arkansas School Boards Association is. And so I know sooner than later would probably be good, but with jobs and things like that, I just needed to make sure that you guys would be. So I will be submitting some dates to you, unless you want to send me some dates first on when we can get together. Any thoughts on that, Mr. Robertson? Okay, go ahead and send you some dates from what the presenters could do. Okay, and I'll get that. I'll have that in this week. I'll try to get that to you this week. Then other thing as far as governance, if you recall, we have the board committees, and I provided that to you in an email not too long ago. I just want, and I've heard back from one person that said they were interested in specific committees, and so I just wanted to give this to you again so that maybe you guys have a chance to talk about the different board committees and what you're interested in, so that Mr. Robertson can kind of reassign if he needed to on the chairs of those committees. Is that something you want to do now, or just look over and do it at the next board meeting? Okay, so would you please submit if you want to keep where you're at and be the chair of what you're doing to me, and I'll share that with Mr. Robertson, and so that could be something that could be completely decided in the May board meeting. All right. And then the last thing under fiscal governance that I want to share, and this is something that I have recently been able to share with you as a board member, but I have not been able to share with the community until now. And so this is an opportunity to do a community announcement regarding a cybersecurity incident. And so in the interest of transparency, I want to inform our community of a serious cybersecurity incident that impacted the Pine Bluff School District. On December 17th, the district processed a wire transfer in the amount of $3,204,639.55 for what was believed to be a legitimate invoice from a trusted construction vendor as part of the district's ongoing construction project. The director of finance contacted the vendor to confirm receipt of payment and learned that the company had sent the invoice for construction services rendered, but the company had not requested the invoice to be paid via a wire transfer. It was then discovered that this incident was the result of a sophisticated cyber attack. A district employee email account had been compromised, and while a legitimate invoice had been received, fraudulent wiring instructions were later introduced in the same email thread through a phishing scheme designed to closely mimic authentic communications. The district acted immediately. The director of finance notified the bank, and law enforcement was engaged without delay. A federal investigation was launched, and the district fully cooperated by providing all necessary documentation to support recovery efforts. Because this was an active federal investigation involving a cybercrime, we were directed to maintain strict confidentiality. Sharing details publicly at this time could have been compromised the investigation and potentially hindered efforts to recover the funds by law enforcement. For that reason, we were not able to provide updates sooner. We have now been informed that the investigation is largely complete. Encouragingly, a substantial portion of the funds are expected to be recovered, while the exact amount has not yet been finalized by authorities. So we anticipate receiving a detailed update on restitution in the next weeks. Additionally, the district has filed a claim with the Arkansas Cyber Response Board, which provides financial assistance to public schools districts affected by fraud-related cyber incidents. Since this cyber attack, the district has taken immediate and ongoing steps to strengthen safeguards and prevent similar incidents in the future. These measures include implementing strict wire transfer procedures requiring dual verbal authorization and independent verification, eliminating reliance on any email wiring instructions without verbal confirmation and verified contact information, enhancing fraud prevention protocols in coordination with our banking partners, providing targeted staff training on phishing threats, fraud detection, and secure financial practices, and conducting a comprehensive internal review of financial controls and procedures. This incident was not a result of an error, but rather a deliberate and highly coordinated cybercrime. Organizations across the country, including school districts, are increasingly being targeted by these types of attacks. And so we're going to remain committed to accountability and transparency and protecting public resources. So I'll continue to keep the community and, of course, the board informed as we receive final updates about this attack. Any questions about that, board?
Yes, I have one. The person that did the transaction, do they have to check with you before they do that?
Yes. Well, they inform me, but I approve the transaction by the bank, yeah.
So, and this happened before that you know of?
The fraud,
Yeah.
the attack, no. Mm-mm.
Okay, that's all I have.
Any other questions?
Because it was under federal investigation. And it still is, but they've been able to release as much information as they can.
Any other questions?
If I'm wrong, Ms. Ferris, correct me. But I think what she's asking is, it was under investigation. I think what she's trying to say is, was it that we couldn't know as a board, like back then,
I was told not to speak about it,
even to the board?
that it would be compromised, because at the time, we didn't know where the money was and who did it. And we still don't know who did it.
Let me jump in and just say this, because I can tell by your line of questioning that this is a matter that we are taking very seriously. And please know that we're not going to just let it sit where it is. We're going to continue to discuss and talk about our steps going forward, and even what has happened, like you say, even prior to now, for those of us that were not here. You know, there's some gaps, there's some holes in the questions that we need answered, and so let us continue to, we will definitely continue the questions and the information sessions to gain the information that we need to go forward in the spirit of transparency and responsibilities and all of those kinds of things. Okay.
I have one question.
Yes.
Did they give you any deadline or on when they would have everything done on their end?
The original investigation was 60 to 90 days. That's banking days. So we're right around the 90 banking days since it happened. And so that's why I was expecting to hear more from how that investigation was going to turn out. But I do not have a timeline other than we were encouraged just last week, we were encouraged that within the next 2 weeks, the recovery of funds would be back in our bank. And the last section of my superintendent's report is facilities and transportation, and we had that update today from, that Sean provided about the high school. And so and that will be the end of my report. And the next item's action items.
Item 12, new business, action items. The first one is to approve food service management for 26-27 contract renewal. It has been moved and properly second that we approve the food service management for 26-27, the contract renewal for that. Are we ready for the vote? All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Next, item B, to approve the 26-27 Capturing Kids Heart Service Agreement. I obtain a motion for that. It has been moved and properly second that we approve the 26-27 Capturing Hearts Service Agreement. Ready for the vote? All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Item C, to approve wide area network leasing and service agreement with Unite Private Networks. It says 85% E-rate purchase agreement, category 1.
So, board, I didn't get a chance to speak about this in my update. Would you like Mr. Sims to come and discuss what these two items are that are in your packet? Thank you, Mr. Sims.
All right, E-rate. It's a federal program that provides 20 to 90% discounts to basically internet service and network equipment. Category 1, which is what we're speaking on at the moment, it pays 90%, the district pays 10%. And that's based off free reduced lunch.
So what are we purchasing now?
So basically what we are purchasing is the dark fiber to connect all schools together so they can have internet service.
And
Oh, I'm sorry.
so that's the network leasing services agreement.
Yes.
And so the original cost for that was $568,000, correct?
Yes.
And so what we will pay out of district money is the $85,287.47. And that's to ensure that we continue with getting our network services.
Correct.
Do you want to explain the other one?
The second one is category 2, which the district E-rate pays 85%, we pay 15%. So that is for connecting the network together for switches and Wi-Fi. So students can test. And so we only pay 15%.
The IKEY. The category 2, Mr. Sims,
So
it's all put together.
the total sum was like $587,000, but out of that we only paid 85.
85. So all of that's together, but it's two different things. So I'm sorry, I misspoke
Yes.
earlier. The whole total is the 568, 583, but then we're paying the 85 for both those things. But they're two different companies, but
Two different
E-rate is reimbursing for both.
And both of these are a 5-year thing, so I won't come back to the next 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
But the leasing agreement, it's $9,000 a month for 5 years for us to be able to keep our network connections.
Correct.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
All right.
I would obtain a motion for item C. It has been moved and properly second that we approve the wide area network leasing and service agreement with Unite Private Networks for the category 1. Are you ready for the question? All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. And then for item D, approval of the contract for network equipment IK Network Solutions, which is the category 2. We'll obtain a motion for that. properly second that we approve the contract for network equipment IK Network Solutions Category 2. Are you ready for the vote? All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. At this time, we will move into executive session for one purpose of considering personnel, and then for the second purpose of further discussion on the attack, the cyber attack. All right.
What she said was, we wrote it down, 24. You want to stay in here? We just pause it, right? Is that what she said? Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we're ready to reconvene from executive session where no decision was made. And I would like to, at this particular time, obtain a motion for the approval of the personnel lists as they were presented in executive session.
My bad. I move to approve the personnel list.
It has been moved and properly second that we approve the personnel list as presented in executive session. Are we ready for the question? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? None opposed, the motion is carried. This time I would like to obtain a motion that we adjourn.
So moved.
It has been moved and properly second that we adjourn. We ready for the vote? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you all for your attention.